couple things happen in front of the media that I would just like to make you laugh, because I laughed, and there's a 42.9% chance you'll find it funny too. We talk a lot about the playbooks that are used by coaches and GMs and presidents. Owners don't know how to use it, but they try. And it's about disrespecting you, the fans and the audience and the media, because for some reason, they all believe that we're buying what they're selling. I want you to tell me if you notice anything at all about the following teams. The Chicago Bears, Matt Eberflus, he met the media and said Caleb is our starter, which is good. Caleb Williams has been, he's rookie of the year, all pro. He is the difference maker. The Bears are, I would say, a week or two away at most of being the best team in football, with him as your anchor, figuring out your whole new stadium plans. But he said, beside Caleb Williams, who's been the number one, everything is on the table. And he said that there's going to be changes, but Monday, as in yesterday, is a long day in terms of the evaluation of everything. I love that. I love the picture of a coach walking into the office on Monday after a loss where you know exactly what your team is because you've seen it week in and week out. You know what you have. It's like in baseball. Let me just give you the calendar comparison. We're about 10 weeks in, so my math tells me that that's about 100 games in. So that's about 2 months left. So you're right around the beginning of August. It would be as though we walk into the clubhouse in August and say, let's start evaluating things. How are we looking? It's not what we've seen for 100 games. We're going to change right now. Yes, sometimes we would delude ourselves, but I'm not sure what Eberflus is evaluating. I guess he's going to fire everyone on the offensive side because that's the problem with Caleb Williams. Clearly, I guess we'll start firing some coordinators, but we're going to evaluate everything. Not the sun and the curtains, but we'll evaluate everything else. Then Brian Daboll hits the tarmac of media. He said he was asked about Daniel Jones, another guy who you want to have as the anchor for your team for sure. Not overpaid. He will bring you to the promised land for sure. He was asked about Daniel Jones, and he said, we're going to spend a lot of time watching tape, and we're going to evaluate things. I would say we're evaluating our team. That's what we're doing. Yeah, you got to go back to the tape for sure. You've got to break that thing down because there's no other way to evaluate everything without going play by play with Daniel Jones. And I think we should only go over last week's game. You don't want to go over the course of his entire career. Why would you use that to evaluate anything? That's just obviously incorrect. We'll get misled. But now we're going to evaluate this last game against the Panthers in Germany. We'll evaluate everything. Good. Appreciate that. Thank you, Brian. Is that you, Antonio Pierce? He just finished his bye week. Remember what he said? We spent the bye week evaluating everything. Shane Steichen of the Colts. Remember they benched Anthony Richardson, brought in Joe Flacco, who's been horrific. Comeback player of the year. Here's the general rule, comeback player of the year. That was a one-time thing. Let's try. There's nothing that presidents and GMs like more than trying to catch lightning twice in the same bottle. We're all victims of it. I assume you all do that in your life too. When you do something and it causes a reaction that you love, that really works for you, either in business or in pleasure, don't you try to set up to do the same action, thinking that you're going to get the same reaction? Like you light a candle and you get yourself ready. You wear an outfit that you really did well in, and you try to do that again. You're like, oh man, I was set up for greatness. And now I'm back home alone. I think we've all done that. That's what you do with players when they used to be good and then they're bad and then they have a flash of good. And you're saying that's not just a flash. This is now a permanent state of mind and being and performance. But of course, Joe Flacco has been absolutely terrible. Shane Steichen said, we're evaluating everything. I'm sorry. I may have ruined it, Sarah. We had it all set up for everyone to laugh because all these coaches say the same damn thing. They're all evaluating everything. I think it's a very good skill to have because generally when you're evaluating something, you want to evaluate everything, sort of like lawyers do. You look at both sides, you look at all the possible results, you look at the ripple effect of certain decisions. In sports, we say we're evaluating everything, and it's such poppycock. It just is. There's no time when you're sitting with your GM or your manager and you're actually going through, let's go through everything A to Z. You sit in a meeting and you're talking about what is the biggest issue of the day, whether it's Daniel Jones or Joe Flacco or Tua, whatever the issue is. You rarely sit down other than the off season to do an all hands meeting of, oh, let's take every side of the ball. The whole thing's ridiculous.